Andrew, speaking about the Yankees them and the Red Sox have been dominant. They've been dominating this division for years. And then the Rays, over the years, they get better. They're one of the teams to beat, and then they completely trade away pieces and they start rebuilding again. Where do you see this team this year with a shortened season against the powerful Yankees, with the addition of Garrett Cole and with that pitching staff now, which is one of the best pitching staffs in baseball?
They could win it all. There's no question in my mind that the Rays could win it all. They've got to stay healthy. What's weird about that is that, last year, this team really didn't stay healthy, and they still were able to win 96 games. Tyler Glasnow missed, about two-thirds of the season. Blake Snell was on the shelf through a lot of it. Young pitchers were pressed into duty. I mean, the lifeblood of the Rays is the farm system, and that's why we've never really taken a full step back and said we're now in rebuild. We're going to tank for a while and then we're going to rebuild. That's not the way they've done it. They could have done it a number of times, but they've always tried to at least be competitive, and it didn't work so well. In 2015, they won 80 games. In 2016, I think they won 68. But at that point, they drafted Brendan McKay, and because they were able to get some better draft picks, they really started to rebuild the system. But they were still trying to compete at the major league level. Now, over the last couple of years, they've gone from 80 wins in 17 to 90 wins in 18,
phenomenal,
to 96 wins in 19. There's no reason for me in the world to think that they couldn't win it all, especially in a short season. I mean, it's open season for everybody. I think a lot of teams could probably win it all, but I would put the Rays' chances as good as everybody else. Now, they got to figure out how to beat Garrett Cole, something they couldn't do in October, but they had done several times throughout not only last season but the seasons before, so they can beat him. But Cole was something else during the postseason. But obviously, that's something that's going to have to be figured out if they are going to win, because you got to go through New York and you got to go through Garrett Cole.
Andrew, one of those front office executives you were talking about with the Rays, the front office that they've had, just went to the Red Sox and Shane Bloom to become their new general manager. What kind of impact do you think they could have on the Red Sox organization, who are normally like that high payroll type thing? Could they operate kind of like the Rays too, or do you think it's exclusive to what the Rays do?
Well, what's been difficult, I think, from the Rays standpoint is that when the Rays got good, when they really put together that dream team, so to speak, with Joe Madden and Andrew Friedman and Matt Silverman and Stu Sternberg at the top, they were starting to really do a lot of things that other teams had not caught up to, whether it be defensive shifts, whether it be openers, whether it be utilizing your roster the way they utilized it. The Rays were far and ahead of where the Yankees were, where the Red Sox were, where just about everybody else was. They really were cutting edge. But what happens is when that goes on, imitation is the sincerest form. Other teams start to do it, and at that point, the other teams were starting to do what the Rays were doing, on top of the fact that they had triple the amount of payroll that the Rays had. So it's extremely difficult to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, if you're technologically caught up with other teams, and then they still have that very large amount of payroll and are able to go into the free agent market like the Rays are unable to do. So I think what Chaim Bloom going to the Red Sox will do, and it's pretty obvious what happens when other organizations take, what the Rays have. James Click goes to be GM of the Astros. 2 years ago, Rocco Baldelli was plucked off the staff to go manage the Twins. Charlie Montoyo was plucked off the staff to go manage the Blue Jays. Other teams see what the Rays are doing, and they want to figure out how in the world are they doing it. So they offer these guys their dream jobs, and they should take it. That's fine. There can only be one manager with the Rays. There can only be one GM. So I have nothing against those guys for taking those opportunities, but I think it does make it more difficult for the Rays to compete, in particular in the Astros situation this year, because I thought that with the Astros' wrongdoings, their evil doings, I think they should have been forced to hire from within to be general manager. I don't think that was fair. This is me speaking. This is not me speaking for the Rays. This is just me, my own personal thoughts. I thought it's a shame the Rays have to lose one of their top executives right at the dawn of spring training to go to the Astros, because the Astros had done so many things wrong. So I think that was wrong. But okay, regardless, James goes there, Chaim goes to Boston, and they'll, of course, try to implement many of the things that they did with the Rays, because even though these teams have these large payrolls, the goal for every owner is to try to win as many games and win championships while spending as little as you have to. And I think other teams try to pick off what the Rays are doing to try to figure out how exactly you do that.
We are talking to the voice of the Tampa Bay Rays, Andrew Fried. Andrew, you stole my question about what you thought about the Houston Astros and everything that went on over in the offseason. So here's another question I have that I wanted to ask you. Throughout last year, there was things coming out of the league and some of the players saying that the balls were juiced. And Rob Manfred came out and said that the balls weren't juiced. Then all of a sudden, throughout the playoffs, he says, I'm going to be looking at the seams of the balls in the offseason and trying to figure out if the balls were juiced in last year's offseason. What are your thoughts to the juice ball situation?
You know, I'm old enough now where I've been through many cycles of this. I can remember in about 1987, when I was a 16-year-old, there was a talk that year because home runs were up. I remember Wade Boggs had a bunch of home runs that year, and people were wondering what's going on with the ball. There's something that they're more tightly wound. They're paying the workers that make the baseballs differently, so they're coming back with different tension levels. I remember it happened again at various other times. I think every so often you go through these cycles in baseball. Conspiracy theorists wonder what's going on. I'm not here to say because I don't know. Is the ball any different? I know that the laces are different at the major league level than they are in the minor leagues. Until last year, AAA started using the same baseball as big league baseballs for the first time ever, and that was to try to combat what would happen when young pitchers would come up. Like we have this kid, Diego Castillo. You may know him, a right-handed relief pitcher, and he's great in the minors, and because the laces are a little bit lower in the big leagues, he couldn't get his sinker to sink as much as he wanted it to, and it just took him a little bit of a time to get used to that. Now, in terms of does that make the ball go farther, I don't know. I mean, I think part of it is the philosophy of hitting in the game right now. You know, I watch a lot of games on YouTube from past generations, and one of the things that really stands out is how the hitters have changed. You know, I think there's much more of a swing for the fences. I don't care if I strike out 150 times now, where years ago, and I'm not saying it's better or worse, but years ago, if you struck out 100 times, that was an embarrassment. You know, a lot more guys choked up, a lot more guys hit it to the opposite field. There was more of a station-to-station fought in baseball, hit behind the runner. Now I see a lot less of that. I see a lot more guys swinging for the fences, and most of the new ballparks are built for the home run. So I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I'm not an immediate conspiracy theorist to say it's because of the baseball. Could it be wound a little tighter? Could that be going on? It wouldn't surprise me, but I have no way to know one way or the other. I just kind of enjoy the game however it's presented to me.
Andrew, last question for me. This is focusing on your broadcasting career. Do you have a favorite call or a moment that stands out the most? Was it in that 2008 season? Was that in that 2011 season where they came back and edged the Red Sox out for that playoff spot, or is it something else? Do you have one call that stands out the most to you, or a moment?
Oh, geez. Oh, man. I don't know if I have one. I mean, the one that people always talk to me about is, Evan Longoria's walk-off at the end of the 2011 season. But, there's stuff throughout. To me, my favorite part of broadcasting isn't even necessarily that big moment. I mean, those are great, and we all kind of live for the excitement of that. And there was nothing like Evan's homer. There was nothing like winning the pennant in 2008. There was nothing like last year making postseason again or winning the wild card game. That we're just my broadcast partner and I, Dave, have been very fortunate to be around some wonderful moments, and those are all thrilling and exciting. My favorite part of being a baseball broadcaster is hoping to be, as I've heard it explained before, just good company. I like being someone that hopefully people enjoy having with them in their cars, or as we're down here on our boats, or when you're doing yard work, or when you're doing stuff around the house, you're doing chores, and you don't mind me hanging out with you as this disembodied voice going throughout your house or in your headphones. Those are the moments that I like, because as there's a lot of moments in baseball where things are maybe at a lull. Keeping those moments alive, coming up with a funny story, an anecdote that keeps things moving along, that entertains someone, to hold the audience. That, to me, I think is the biggest challenge of this, and what I get most satisfaction about. It's funny when they play back highlights of particular announcers, you usually hear those big moments, but when I go back, and like when I was growing up, Chuck Thompson was the Hall of Fame voice of the Orioles. I mean, he felt so paternal to me that, he almost felt like he was a fatherly figure, that was always kind of there and around the house with me as I'm doing stuff. And I'd be thrilled to know that maybe I'm doing that for some kid around here in Florida sometime, or on Sirius or whatever platform we're on. Those are the moments that excite me more even than the big call. It's just thinking that I'm hopefully providing good company for somebody.
We are talking to the voice of the Tampa Bay Rays, Andrew Fried. Last question from me, and this is a good question because I haven't spoken to you about this. I've spoken to a bunch of other analysts, and I want to know your real opinion towards this. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, even Gary Sheffield, some of these guys that did steroids in the past, should they be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and why?
I don't think so. And, I go back to even, Pete Rose. I mean, I'm very strongly against Pete Rose being into the Hall of Fame. And every once in a while, an argument comes along and it wavers me one way towards, okay, I understand that Pete was one of the great faces of baseball. I mean, the guy embodied hustle. He embodied a winner, the most hits ever. But when you do something that is not only a black mark on the game, and I'll throw this in there with Bonds and with Clemens and with whomever else. If you have that power within baseball, and look, the people that have power not only are owners and high-ranking executives, but players. Players that are the faces of the game. They are the face of the product that we're selling to America. And if you're going to put such a black mark on it and put a stain to the fact, especially within the steroid era, and like what the Astros just did, if you're going to make choices to make yourself better at the expense of challenging the validity of the game, the true competitiveness of the game, then to me, your great things that you did in your career work against you. I think it's a stronger example to keep Pete Rose out of the Hall of Fame to the other players that come along that might one day tempted to gamble on the game. And I think the same thing with Bonds and Clemens, and those guys were phenomenal players. That yes, they were phenomenal before they got into the pharmaceuticals. But the fact that to the modern player, and I don't care about the past player as much as the next generation. What signal are we sending to the next generation of Major League Baseball player? Are you able to still get into the Hall of Fame if you cheat the game? Are you able to get into the Hall of Fame if you're a gambler and a degenerate that is challenging the entire thought of competitiveness? Then to me, it's still contributing to the game in a sense that you don't allow them in because it sends a message to the next generation. Those guys, the greatest players, were punished. They're not in the Hall of Fame. I better not do it too. That's the way I feel.
Andrew, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you all over social media?
I have a Twitter account that started a little while ago. I followed for a while, but I started tweeting out around 18. It's at AndrewFried33. And that's I'm always happy to answer questions or talk to people. Or believe me, if you want to talk baseball, I'm here for you right now.
Well, Andrew, we love to get you back on the show when the season does start, or if it will start. But I do believe we'll have a baseball season. But when it does, I would love to get you on.
Hey, anytime, guys. I appreciate it. And stay safe up there in Long Island.
All right, Andrew, if you can, just instant message us so we can send you the clip of the show, my friend.
That would be great.
Thank you, Andrew.